Most people or most entities that you call evil are actually acting upon self-preservation and are based on survival imperatives that were cultivated some billions of eons ago. We get trapped by them through our lack of instinctive self-awareness that the mind and the spirit inherits through a continual refinement of the corporeal envelope. Let me then say that again so that you'd understand it. We get trapped by these entities who feed from our ignorance, who feed from us, through our own lack of instinctive self-awareness. Our own lack of instinctive self-awareness that the mind and the spirit is supposed to inherit through a continual refinement of the corporeal envelope. So the more you live, the more you should know. The longer you live, the more you're supposed to know. You ain't supposed to be stupid at 50. And Lord knows that's when you get real dumb. You get real scared and stupid and go running to church. You start running to look for Jesus after you get that first pain in your back. Oh, it's coming close to the end. Heart attack and motherfuckers just catch Jesus and say, Lord, yeah, he came to Jesus. Because that's the only out they're going to give you, is to come to Jesus. We become trapped by the envelope through the chromosomes, which contain the DNA and the genes. Now here's where we're going to start getting heavy. The chromosome is a DNA containing linear body of the cell nuclei, responsible for the determination and transmission of hereditary characteristics. See, that's the clinical definition. And that's what they want you to think that's all it is. Let me repeat that. The chromosome is a DNA containing linear body. Linear means straight. Of the cell nuclei responsible for the determination and transmission of hereditary characteristics. Now the chromosome then must have all of the information of the ancestors locked into it. This is why this devil, this geneticist, who is the new Gnostic, the geneticist is the new Gnostic. He now has the ability to get into the library of your experience and start picking out what he wants of the information and start playing inside of who you are. Not who you want to be or who you are, so that he will make you who he wants you to be. Now let's drop about a gene. A gene is a functional hereditary unit. It is a functional hereditary unit that occupies a fixed location on the chromosome. It occupies, carefully listen now, a fixed location on the chromosome. It has a specific influence on phenotype or a group and is capable of mutation. Now you'll understand why the gene can change and what that has to do with you and mind control. Now, listen very carefully. There is something around the sun called the chromosphere. The chromosphere. Now, the chromosphere of the sun is made up of primarily hydrogen. Check the connection now. It is several thousand miles in depth and lies separate and above the photosphere, which it surrounds. Okay? The chromatosphere surrounds the photosphere and is distinct and separate from the corona, or the crown of thorns. Listen carefully. The DNA, I'm putting all the little definitions in before we get to it. The DNA is a polymer, or something of a high molecular weight. That's what a polymer means. Something that has a high density and molecular weight with millions of repeated linked units. The DNA is a polymer of the chromosome consisting of two long chains of alternating phosphate and deoxyribose units, twisted into a double helix and joined by hydrogen bonds between the complementary bases, adenine and thymine, or cytosine and guanine. Now let me go back to what I'm saying and how it connects with the chromosphere of the sun. Go back to the top. The chromosphere of the sun is made up of primarily hydrogen. This is why I needed the blackboard. The chromosphere is made up primarily of hydrogen. All right? It is several thousand miles thick and lies separate and above the photosphere. Photo meaning the light sphere, the part that you can see, which it surrounds. Now the DNA has a alternating phosphate and deoxyribose units, linear, that is twisted into a double helix and joined together by hydrogen. Now, I said that to say that the so-called chromatosphere or chromosphere of the sun and the chromosomes of the cell, are you checking me? The chromosome of the cells are your inner sun. Remember, the cells are your internal little suns. You have whole solar systems that are cells. The chromosome and the chromosphere are together and are synergistically linked through the activity of the DNA. So the sun and you are intermittently connected through the DNA. Your chromosomes and the chromosphere, hydrogen bonds in the chromosomes, hydrogen as the majority, thousands of miles thick around the sun, there is a connection. You are being beamed information through the hydrogen, the chromosphere of the sun is connecting to the hydrogen coupling bonds in your DNA and giving it instructions to change. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be giving you instructions to grow a third helix at this present time. But because you are in light code lockdown and because they are polluting the atmosphere so that they filter out the instructions from the chromosphere to your chromosomes, you're the one that's getting all, you might as well be back knuckle dragging at an ape. You are being regressed purposefully to keep you as a food source for light. The DNA represents a fixed projection of light as consciousness. The DNA represents a fixed projection of light as consciousness. As light travels through the ever-increasing density of matter, it begins to spiral in relationship to the elements that it gathers. Let me say that again. As light travels through the ever-increasing density of matter, it begins to spiral. It doesn't go into a straight line. It spirals. That's why when you look at the electrical line inside of here, it's twisted. Because all things, once it gets to this level, light travels, everything travels, atomics, everything travels in spirals. All energy travels in spirals. So, what constitutes your DNA is the coagulation of these elementals, these primordial archetypal elementals that are now coalescing around the design of the intelligent mind to become you, man. So the DNA is essentially just following the instructions of universal mind to condense you into man, to God as man. Now all of this is coming to be because now you're going to see what they have to do in order to interrupt and mess with who you are. Because the old forms of mind control don't work too tough no more. Evidence. Y'all ain't sucking on a neck bone. The denser the elements themselves fix light through the densification of atoms. The elements fix light. Okay? They fix light through the densification of atoms who behave according to how many elementals and atoms join together. So the more compact, the more constricted these atoms and these elements work together, the more density of light you have. And the more awareness you can actually encompass, and the more manipulation of these atoms you can do through your mind. Because that's the secret. Manipulating the atomic structure, manipulating the DNA helix, manipulating the hydrogen connection so that you now begin to give instructions based upon your awareness, not through what they're telling you. Higher awareness, it must grow now. You must get deep into metaphysics at this time to save your life. This is not just about you saying, well, I'll study in school and we'll take this, and I may even take a little something of metaphysics. No, bullshit. You're going to have to put everything aside and study metaphysics now, because that's how they're coming at you.